Just a couple of points here on the TIB in general and a couple of questions. And Pat, I'd be kind of interested to hear maybe some of your thoughts. But one of the things that I always like to remind people when we start talking about TIBs is that not everything qualifies. And I think this is really where we see most of our clients start to get in trouble, is that they anticipate bringing something in for a short amount of time, shipping it back out of the country, and they're like, I can just bring it in under a TIB and not have to worry about it. Well, inside of the tariff, we're looking at specifically Chapter 98, heading 9813. We're really getting into where the TIBs take hold, and there are a lot of instances where TIBs can be very, very advantageous for you, but at the end of the day, you have to make sure that it applies. And so, Pat, I don't know if you see maybe some of that, or if you can provide an example of sometimes where you see some of your clients using the TIB to kind of get around paying some of these duties legally, simply for the fact that they're only going to have it in the States for, let's say, 6 months, and then ship it back out.
Yeah, sure. That's a good, a TIB is a good alternative, especially if you can fit your goods in it. TIBs cover a lot of products for demonstration purposes. So if it's something that you don't plan on keeping here, there's also a provision, 9813.005, I believe. But it's the first one listed, where you can process raw materials or an article into a different product and export it within a year. Which is similar to an FTZ, but unlike an FTZ, there's a little less paperwork that goes into it. So TIBs are a great solution if you do qualify. I would encourage you to go through all of the 10 categories in 9813 to see if it's something that could apply to you. If not, there are solutions, there are alternatives though as well. I mentioned foreign trade zones. As well, there is manufacturing that can be done there. Goods can be stored there, and they can be shipped out without any duty being paid.
Well, and I really think it is, you just mentioned it as well, when we start to talk about that TIB and that option, is that there is some amount of processing that's okay that can be done here in the United States to then sell your item back out. Now, there's a lot of caveats and catches to this, and I think maybe that specific heading catches a few folks off guard, but ultimately, there are significant ways that this can be used to avoid the amount of duty, or potentially not, or you're paying it but then having to go through the duty drawback process in order to get that money back when you could potentially not pay it at all. So I think that's a good way to kind of kick this off. There's a lot of small options around TIBs, but I think as a whole, it's an area that we have a majority of customers that are kind of afraid to sometimes take advantage of it, because there's a lot of rules and regulations that surround that process. But ultimately, it's something that can be a very powerful tool in your toolbox of avoiding duties altogether.
Right. And to the extent that you're importing goods and then exporting them back out, what you have to do to satisfy customs is show them exactly that you've imported the goods, you've traced them, and then you've traced them back out, which is all things you'd keep in the normal course anyway. So
right.
To the extent there's any trepidation about using this provision because it's complicated, it's not necessarily as complicated as you might think, because you'll just be using the records that you would keep in the normal course anyway, or your broker or forwarder would keep in the normal course. Thank you.